Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching this. Welcome to another 1v1 cast. It's NRTS 1v1. I'm tired. I'm not redoing this. Anyways, first take, best take, right? I'm your host, Leafy Potato Style. And here we have another game played as part of the Saturday Smackdown 1v1 exhibition. This is a weekly event that we host on our community Discord server. Open to anyone who would like to join. It's a fun time, pretty casual experience. Here we have I Exploded playing as the Blue Commander on Hidden Valley against Blue Knight playing as the Green Commander. Explode with a pretty solid standard opening. Got 3 militia roaming about the map. Got his workers moving around. Worker routing could have been better, but he's doing all right. Blue Knight, pretty unconventional, expanding first. Usually, and I say this, usually, expanding before you take your 4 CC farms isn't worth it. Not that you can't get your CC farms later, but mainly that your worker routing gets messed up unless you want to make another worker in the back in order to make those CC farms, which you can do. But I don't know about committing to having to make an extra worker. You can take farms on the rest of the map a little faster, but in the event that your opponent goes for early pressure and you don't have your back 2 CC farms, just down 16 eco until you can either get your workers off the front line, in which case they're not constantly expanding, or you find room to make another worker, which is $30 and 25 seconds of CC time that you could have spent on anything else. Any rate, Explode has moved into Green's territory. Basically, you're not expanding this way, as he continues to expand around the other side of the map. Pretty smart. Pin Green, force him basically to dig deeper into Orange and Red's territory, and just constantly apply pressure at your border between or at the space between your borders. Now, I don't like this fight very much for well, initially I was gonna say I don't like this fight very much for Blue, but apparently Green just did not care for his worker and the worker died. So insane pick manages to squeeze his militia in between the militia and the tower, and actually gets the worker. Don't try that at home, kids. You'll lose your militia and feel sad. So yeah, now Green's got their forces spread too thin. You can just 5v1 them. Yeah, I don't think Green is too experienced with microing militia. It is an interesting topic. You build an intuition for it after a little bit, and by a little bit I mean I guess I'm one to talk. I use militia a whole lot. Generally, you want them concentrated in one area, so that they can shoot at the same target more or less. If you have them spread out, you want them to be in like different chunks of the map, not just spread over one sector. Right, so like 2 militia broken off to go harass farms on one side of the map while you have your main force wherever. Mainly just because militia are frail. You kind of need them to be packed together so that they can all shoot at once. Now Green's got insane numbers advantage here. All Green has to do is basically click on some of Blue's farms, and they're just out of the game. But instead, he's towering. You've got the troops. You've got to push. Blue's got very easy expansion. You don't. You might say, oh, well, you can expand into red than orange, but that's a pretty thin line to expand into, and Blue's got control of that middle section between purple and green, so he can just kind of cut off that expansion like he is doing pretty much right now with a single militia. Just going in with a dude and shooting farms. It's harder to defend, basically. If you're green and you get the middle, you're pretty happy, because you can choke the middle, choke Blue's base, and then, or choke the middle, choke Orange's base probably, and then push towards Blue with your army. So that way, if Blue decides that they want to commit heavily to harassing your holdings near Red or Orange's base, A, they have to break through static, which means they need to bring big forces, but B, because they're bringing big forces, they're leaving their command center undefended. And you don't need that many troops to kill an undefended command center. Like a command center with a turret, command center with a tower, a little bit more. But if it's just farms, or like farms in a house, you bring something like 13 militia and it's gone. Anyways, we see Blue going in for more damage because Green split their forces. I like this. You notice that Green might have more militia, at least temporarily, but they're not in the right spot. They're not together. So effectively, Green only has 3 militia, 1 stuck behind a tower. The rest are coming in from over near Orange's base, and so a bit of a defeat in detail. Manages to kill a farm and 2 militia for losing 1 militia of his own. Decent trade. He's backing off. Honestly, yeah, fair enough. You might be able to pick off another militia or 2 by getting some really good kites. Ridge Racer OST does go nuts. It's very, very good if you haven't listened to it. Ridge Racer 4 has a crazy good soundtrack. Explode's got a helipad going up. He's looking for quicker, more effective, a longer term solution to harass, and also preventing tanks from being just free militia counter. Chopper militia versus tank militia is not. It's not a fun fight for the chopper militia, but you can make it work. Now, having to fight that into static sucks even more. The biggest thing is that the militia, if you only have a couple choppers, the militia are going to ruin your day. If they have a single anti-air with their group, it's going to ruin your day. Your chopper is the thing that keeps the tank from shredding your militia. Right, because the tank does super heavy damage to militia. I can't remember if it one-shots. If the light tank one-shots militia. But at any rate, with 1 tank, 2 tanks, and a bunch of militia, that's not a very fun fight. So you need the chopper to basically get free damage on the tank if it's ever out of position, or if you do have to dive onto their army, you want the chopper shooting at the tank. But it does prevent them from going super heavily into tanks without also getting some anti-air or a lot more militia if you make a couple choppers. So in the medium term, as a unit counter, choppers are okay. Of course, they're not the best at fighting, but if they can shoot at something they can't shoot back, then that's what they want. Green's going around trying to defend his holdings. If you're in this position as Green, you're already at a massive disadvantage. You've got a house in the middle of nowhere. That's not good. Blue's got a farm in the pocket there that you could take make an easier hold, you gotta choke up this this front contact point with blue. Just choke it with towers, so that if he wants to push through the most direct path to you, he's going to have to fight through static. Make that as uncomfortable of a decision as it possibly can be. Beyond that, try to get control of the middle. Blue still hasn't taken the majority of the map, which, yeah, exploded. If you're watching this, which you seem to watch a lot of these casts, the one thing that you could work on a bit more is when you're when you've got your opponent cornered like this, just take the farms, right? Even if it's like you've got one worker at the front and you've got one worker doing something else, like one worker making towers at the front, one worker making houses and generators, queue another worker in the CC. Maybe another 2 workers if you want, but whatever the case, get some dudes over to the open supply pads, take them, get the eco. It makes your life easier versus taking fights that are a lot more even than they should be. You can take completely crushing fights where your opponent doesn't have a chance. Green finally knocks out this pocket farm, which has been generating money for way too long now, but progress is progress. He doesn't really have an army to challenge these choppers. The choppers could just fly over, especially with militia support, and kill most of this army. He's got an anti-air, some recons, okay, 2 anti-airs, and some militia. It's not a fun fight for your choppers, but you can take it. But yeah, as blue, or generally, if you're in a winning position, win more, right? When you're ahead, get more ahead. It's a decent piece of advice in pretty much any RTS. If you find yourself in a position where your opponent is stuck, there is nothing that's preventing you from just taking the map and having 4 times his eco. And if you've got 4 times his eco, then winning becomes a lot easier. Right, of course you might say in this kind of position, well, if your only goal is to make helis out of 1 air pad and maybe some militia and house up, you've got the eco for that. Why would you need more? And the answer to that is you can make more choppers more fast, because they're going to be producing stuff out of their unit producing structures too. And I mean, maybe having 2 air pads is just overwhelming to some people, but I don't know. I've found a lot of success with that. He's got an upgraded vehicle depot. Explode does. I didn't notice that. I presume that's for heavy tank. Just to do some splash damage on these recons. Green finally gets an air pad up. I don't know that now is the right time to go to choppers. Maybe to harass the map, but that would have been a good decision to make 5 minutes ago, 6 minutes ago. But yeah, at any rate, if you're in a position where you're winning, just take the map, take the resources, give yourself as much to work with as possible while starving your enemy of stuff to work with. Alright, blue's lining up for a push. You've got the forces to break through these towers and kill the CC. And you've got a heavy tank now, so you've got splash. Honestly, you just lead with your ground troops and then you swoop in with your helis as soon as that's done. If you can help it, you don't want your heavy tank taking shots. It's expensive and it's really, really good. But yeah, green ends up losing. I forget how much that is, but it was a lot. And I don't think blue lost anything other than the militia he just sold, and maybe 1 or 2 militia outside of that. He's gonna heal his stuff up at the hospital, for whatever damage it did take, and green cells. He sees the writing on the wall. GG. Well played by both players. Blue Knight. Well played for first time participation. Honestly. It's always cool to see new players come in, see what skill level they're at, see how they react to 1v1, I suppose. Yeah, biggest thing is if you find yourself in a position where your opponent's got more map than you, you've got to attack that, right? Harass their farms, split their attention, make it so that they have to focus on everything except pinning you, right? Get out of your bind, force their pressure somewhere else, and abuse that, basically. But yeah, and then for Explode, well played. Only real complaint that I have is there were open farms, which that's not a huge problem. Just you could have made your game a little easier to win. And also don't be afraid to go and kill CCs, especially once you've got a fairly substantial army. Like taking 8 militia and clicking on yellow's base to get an extra 4 farms. It's not that expensive. You still retain a lot of that in militia. Anyways, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. And remember, stay classy.